try to continue to encourage parents to understand that learning still has to take place in some form or fashion, because at some point, we don't know when that's going to happen, but at some point they're going to be held accountable for whatever was supposed to be learned in this period of time, whether that's in the next class or in high school or in college. At some point they're going to get to a class where what was supposed to be learned now is going to be a prerequisite. And our concern, Cynthia and I, again, as I'm sure we all did, when they first closed schools, was, oh God, okay, everybody's just going to stop learning, and that's just going to be it. And again, being able to see it from inside the classroom and outside the classroom, you don't want to inundate parents with that message, but we also want to make sure students and parents understand this is still a time where work needs to be done. Something needs to get done. And now, of course, with their releasing information about grading practices and schools officially closed for the rest of the year, we still need you to read a book. We still need you to remember how to solve equations. We still need you to remember how to factor and to multiply fractions and all that good stuff. So, and I can say in North Carolina, because there are so many rural areas, even though we're distributing devices, there still is an understanding that there's going to be some sort of inequity, because everybody's just not, yes, somebody's still going to have a paper packet because we just can't get to them, or we can't get to them quick enough before some sort of decision has to be made. So what would you say in regards to just that statement, that learning still needs to take place, not to put more pressure on teachers or more pressures on parents, because everybody's feeling the pressure at this point. Nobody wants to fail our kids, and I think we can all agree to that. Regardless of what position you're in, nobody wants to fail, but what does that look like in you speaking to teachers and speaking to parents about, well, something still needs to happen, learning still needs to take place, because at some point down the line, they're going to be responsible for whatever information is supposed to be shared at this point. And that could be with technology, without technology. What would you say to that point?
I think the caveat to that is not only are students learning, but teachers are learning too. And I think that's how, in order for students to have 100% buy-in of continuing the learning, then teachers have to be all in. So if the lesson isn't necessarily that engaging, it's not really drawing them in. But I do believe that learning and relationships go hand in hand. So because we're in this place where we're not necessarily able to like physically reach out and touch our students, you have to be even more intentional about showing kids, I still care about you, I'm still concerned, how's your family, like that lead in, then that's the segue to the learning. And this, at least that's been like my experience over the last couple of weeks, is like a solid relationship that's like genuine, like I'm authentically concerned about you and your family. And then once we establish like, then you're okay there, then the learning kind of comes into play. And it's almost like the SEL component is first, and then the learning is almost like I hate to say it, but like secondary in a way. It's like, I have to make sure you're well, because if you're well, then you're alert, you're aware, you're present, you know, you're here, and I have your attention, if you're well. But if you're not okay, then just like in the building, and we see it, then you're not well translates even in a virtual setting too. So I think in order for learning to still take place and to still push that agenda, it's about relationships, and teachers just being open to learning themselves.
Good point.
I think, so I'm on the opposite end of, well, I don't know if it's the opposite end, but at this point, all I can say to people is manage your expectations. Like, no elementary school, to my knowledge, no elementary school, at least not in our network. I don't know what all of the other schools are doing, but we were not set up for remote learning. Like, we didn't have a platform that we could just automatically transition to. Google Classroom is great, don't get me wrong, but it's not like if you're taking a college course, you're using Blackboard, everything is on there. Like, you don't necessarily need to have the teacher or whatever. Nothing was set up. So we're building a school, essentially, something that people put in years of time doing. We've had to do it in, 2 weeks? Mm-hmm. So in terms of having learning go forth, learning is going to be what it's going to be. At the end of the day, yes, we want you to know how to complete equations, but the next unit in my math lesson or in my math book was solving quadratic equations. That's not something you can teach over the internet. In my opinion, to elementary school kids. That's not something you can teach over the internet. So if they learn it, great. If they don't, figure out something else to teach. Same thing with English, and I coach all of our English teachers. Like, at this point, our curriculum is just a little too rigorous for you to be trying to do it every single day with kids who are at home, who either have little to no supervision or who have had deaths in the family. I told Teeshawn's team, I have a kid who has the virus, who lost his mother earlier this year. Father was recently shot and had a grandparent who died from the virus. He's not thinking about writing a paper. He's not thinking about doing a project that Ms. Wilkie posted. He's not thinking about any of that. So you have to manage your expectations. And in terms of next year, I have one particular teacher that I'm thinking about. She is always very, she does the most when it comes to like kids who don't have foundational skills, and when it's time for NWEA, like, these kids are not going to do well. It's because they don't have the foundations. Like, none of them are going to have it.
Going to have it.
Like, nobody is. So please don't come to me talking all that mess. Just meet them where they are and build them up. Because we see how the end of the year has gone. We don't know what summer school is going to look like, and we can't mandate all 500 kids to go to summer school. So it's going to be what it's going to be. Manage your expectations, not necessarily lower them, just manage them. And if you have to spend 2-3 weeks in the beginning of next school year doing remediation, that's just what you have to do. Like, we've built a school in a few days. This is what we have to work with, so everybody kind of has to roll with the punches. Yeah. And just know that some kids probably aren't going to submit the work. And guess what? They're probably still going to pass. So at this point, do what you can. And like Teeshawn said, make sure that they're okay mentally and emotionally. And if that's good, then at this point, that's all we can hope for.
Oh, amen. Ms. Dickey, have anything to add?
Oh, hello.
Yes.
My double click didn't work. Yeah, and I agree with everything that was stated. Just a little difference of opinion as far as the teaching is. I guess our fourth quarter objectives, we only had a couple new objectives, and like I told the teachers, you still can teach that through Zoom, but just don't weight it as much as the review objectives. But as far as the students, like, I had a serious conversation with one of the parents that came today. Her son was failing quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3. So I had to be realistic with her. I said, ma'am, if he does all the packets and miraculously get an A on all of them, he still is going to be retained. I said, some of the parents try to use this as a crutch. Y'all shouldn't be failing no kids because of this COVID. I said, ma'am, the COVID happened March 13th. Little Johnny didn't do anything September, October, November, December, January, February. He's going to be retained. So we're not going to use that as an excuse. Now, for the kids who were on the fence, because they call me the strict one. Now, the kids that were on the fence, that's another, that's another story. I'm going to work with them because of this situation. It is unusual. We weren't prepared for it. But the ones who came to school every day just for the lunch and the breakfast and just sat there and was just breathing, you're not going to be moved on. So I'm sorry about the pandemic, but like I said, September through February, we're not going to play those games. But, like you said, we're going to have to spend realistically if we go back to school, because the CNN expert said he doesn't think we should go back to 2022. So that's why I think we should just set up online learning now.
Whoa.
Yeah, 2022. I keep telling everybody this. That's the expert I'm following. I'm going to go with his word because I feel like he knows best. So,
I'm not trying to go back.
So with that being said, we need to just go ahead, accept this is our new normal, and get these platforms going so online learning can be up and running by September, because we're not going back to school. We're not. So we need to just go ahead and fine tune these things now. So when we roll in for September 2020, we'll be ready.
I got quiet on that 20.
You just disrupted my whole world with the 2022.
Yeah, I got to get the man name now. I don't want to give false information. But it was a late night when I was watching CNN, and the man came. He had dark brown hair. He said, realistically, the governors need to prepare for us going back to school in 2022. And I woke up real quick. I said, wait a minute. That's who I'm going to follow. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, in a lot of ways, I can see that being very realistic. And that's, again, there's so many discussions about how to reopen and when to reopen. But when you're talking about a school, first of all, it's a bunch of kids. There's a reason why every teacher has hand sanitizer in their classroom. It's a bunch of kids. Yeah. Then you have adults in charge of those kids. Then a bunch of adults in charge of the adults who are in charge of the kids. It's nothing but a bunch of people in a contained space moving around. Like, you can't, it's a little city in and of itself. That you can't just rush to say, all right, everybody go back. I'm not going back. I'm going to keep teaching virtually, and y'all can go to the classroom. I'm going to be at my house. Like, that's, you can't just make a rash decision. So as much as I don't like it, I can see that being probable. I don't want that to happen, but I'd rather everybody be safe.
Absolutely. We have to be safe. And, like with our K-8 setting, they so little. And like I said, they not washing the hands, using, sneezing. They, they like to touch one another, come give you hugs. And it's just, I just don't feel safe.
Ms. Dickey, so the kids who will not be promoted, is that something that your district or particular school has said, or is that like statewide in Virginia?
Well, it's a district mandate as far as doing the Q1 through Q3 averages, because they did state it wouldn't be fair to count Q4 in their average, but we can justify retaining them if they didn't do anything Q1, Q2, and Q3, because like I said, even if they made straight A's and we calculate their GPA, it's still going to be failing.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a district mandate.
And I ask because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Teeshawn, I don't think the governor has made any stipulations yet about like pass, fail, incomplete, or if he's even said like that's left up to the discretion of the district or to the schools. Like, I don't know where we are in terms of that. I think what you all are doing is great. Like, if you weren't passing Q1 through 3, there's no way you can pass in Q4, so you just have to repeat. I just don't know how that would go over with Illinois parents.
So I think ISB sent out something. So we shifted to high pass, pass, incomplete. Each week, teachers have to enter 2 grades into Power Teacher, 1 for participation, and then 1 that falls under formative, which is like 1 classwork assignment. For students who do not complete any of the work, we're going into Power Teacher and putting in the exempt. So at the end of the quarter, if anyone that has an I, they have to remediate that in summer school, which will be online, or whatever credit recovery platform we have in place, night school. But for specifically our seniors, this will hold them up from graduating. So we're not supposed to enter anything that's punitive. So that's why we go on with the exempt. But anyone that receives the I, they will have to remediate that. And that came from ISB, I believe.
And see, in our district, they also wanted us to go back to Q1, Q2, and Q3 to give the student opportunities to make a missing work. See, because my justification for that is we gave them opportunities when they were in school and to come after school, and we gave makeup packets. No one is going to go back to Q1 and have a teacher look for the find a pronoun worksheet that you did in September. So, what I'm going to do is put together like an English, a math, science, and social studies packet. But that's just, but it stands. if you failed quarter 1, 2, and 3, we're gonna see you next year in the same color shirt, period. Because I'm not a fan or advocate for pushing kids along. If you didn't do the work, you're gonna repeat. And sometimes holding them back is a wake-up call, for them to take the next year seriously. Because last year we had to retain an 8th grader, and she did so well this school year. Whereas if she would have went to high school, she would have been so behind and lost. She needed that extra year. Now some of them just not gonna get it, period, and that's fine. We can play the game, because we have some in our school that's 16 years old as we speak in the 7th grade. So it is what it is. But some of them, they really use that as a learning experience to get themselves together to go to the next grade. But I'm not a fan for moving kids on. You're going to do the work. I had to do it when I was a child. You're going to do it.
Well, amen. I know in North Carolina, and we're still trying to sift through all the information. They released a statement. Was it last Thursday? It was like, last Thursday or Friday, about grading in the pass-fail and seniors getting a chance to, I guess, work on their average if they weren't already passing, but if they were passing by a certain date, then they're fine. And it's a lot of information. So I think this week, teachers and students have been and parents have been trying to find a way through all of that. Because, of course, once you tell a student you passed,
they're done.
So I'm zoom past my room on the way to the kitchen, and that's gonna be it. So North Carolina definitely is still navigating that. Again, understanding that yes, giving students a chance to make it work is one thing, but then expecting them to make up an entire year in a couple weeks, it's a bit unrealistic. And I don't think it's always seen this way, but sometimes that can be, at least in my opinion, a bit offensive to the teacher, because then you're kind of saying me teaching doesn't really make a difference. It's just this grade that you're worried about. But again, that's a big conversation, and we're all trying to figure it out. But I think at least the 3 states that we represent are kind of in that same zone of trying to be fair, but also trying to give kids the chance to figure it out. Don't come for September or October or November. I don't need to keep naming the months. Just let's not